Video, and this video is about Balaam. And you probably heard of Balaam before because the Moabs basically sent distress of the because they were stressed out and scared of the motherfucking children of Israel outside the city when we was in the wilderness coming back to going to the promised land. That they basically sent for a prophet to come curse us. You know what I'm saying? And it says and Moab said unto the elders of Midian. You know what I'm saying? They want Balaam. You know what I'm saying? So they sent messengers unto Balaam, the son of Beor, and he was and prayed thee to curse this people. So basically that's what the king of Moab did, because we was on our way to the promised land. And this video is about Balaam, you know what I'm saying? And I don't know if you know about Balaam, but and Balaam said and spoken to God, you know what I'm saying? God told him not to go. But Balaam was going to go anyway because they kept enticing him. So it's like you didn't hearken to the Most High. So he went anyway. So the Most High said, just go. Well, if you go there, you're going to say what I told him to say. So I'm tell you to say to this man, to curse them, basically. So when Balaam get there, he going to basically curse them, because that's what the Most High going to basically tell him, to curse them. But he's still going to go. And he was on the ass, and the ass spoke to him. So basically, the angel of the Lord was going to kill him. You know what I'm saying? But the Most High opened his eyes. And so that's what they say about Balaam. I mean, you can go in the future. You know what I'm saying? They said he was some prophet from Midian. And Midian is one of the kids of Keturah and Abraham. But this is in Joshua. And it tells you Balaam also the son of Beor, the soothsayer. So they're giving him a name. Israel slayed with the sword amongst the rest of the slain of them. So we killed him. You know what I'm saying? Because he's been an adversary to the Most High. He's been an adversary to Israel for a brick, and I'm going to explain that. And this is in the future, telling you a little bit more about Balaam. And it says, oh, my people, remember how the king of, tell you about that story again, the king of Moab went to Balaam, and he answered him, you know what I'm saying, trying to curse us. And that's just in the future, trying to remind you of the type of shit Balaam was on. And you probably never hear about Balaam, you know what I'm saying? And who is he besides that story with the ass? And it says right here, which had forsaken the right way and gone astray with the teachings, with the following the way of Balaam the son of Beor, the love of wages of unrighteousness, And this is in Peter, telling you about Balaam again, telling you about the shit that, you know what I'm saying, his teachings and shit. And I got more of this shit in the future. Telling you more about Balaam, you know what I'm saying, for the heirs of Balaam rewards, you know what I'm saying. And it went from Cain, it's saying the way of Cain, then it jumped greatly to Balaam, like he's that important. And this is in Jude. And there's more about Balaam again. This is in Revelation, telling you the doctrine of Balaam. So, and, commit fornication and sacrifice to idols and put a stumbling block before the children of Israel, because he's been an adversary. So it's mentioned this character, or this man, because he was a man, not a character, actual man. So I come in the Book of Jasher so you can get truth, because like I said, it starts when Balaam was there, you know what I'm saying, about the curses, and they just mentioned him. What about this dude? Like, damn, we didn't hear about him in Genesis or all that other shit. So this is the Book of Jasher, once again, chapter 61, and it explains Balaam on the scene. And this is the time when Zepho, if you don't know who Zepho is Esau's grandson. Esau's son is Eliphaz, and his son is Zepho. So it goes like that. And then Gaius is the king of Africa. So if you didn't know how it went down, Zepho was a slave in Egypt when Joseph was running that shit. Because after they killed Esau, they took him back as a slave. And Edomites and Edom tried to get him with Mount Seir and the whole right before they killed him the whole time. And once they forgot Joseph in Egypt, Zepho escaped and went to Africa, and he, partnered up with Angeas, the king of Africa. And it gives you the whole story about that. You probably never even know about that shit. But now you know. But it's during that time, and when they was putting this in bondage and shit like that. And it said, amongst the servants of Angeas, you know what I'm saying, was a youth, 15 years old, Balaam, the son of Beor. His name. The youth was very wise and understood the art of witchcraft. All right, he's going to explain some of the shit he did. And Gad saying it to Balaam, conjure up for us, you know what I'm saying, and pray thee that the witchcraft, because Gad was getting ready to fight this dude, because they was getting ready to fight over women. This dude named Titus, he was getting ready to fight him. So he wanted to know if he was going to into battle or not. So Balaam ordered that he should bring him wax, and therefore he made likeness of chariot and horsemen representing Gad. He did all this shit, you know what I'm saying, cunning and prepared the waters, and he had that for that purpose. And then he showed them some type of fucking shit, you know what I'm saying, and then he didn't go into battle. So that's the type of shit. That's the first time you hear about this nigga at 15 years old, Balaam. So now we know this nigga he does witchcraft and shit like that. And King James, man, talking to the Most High, and God knows how old he is, because this is the time when Egypt is being when we came out the wilderness, and this is the time before we was even fucking slaves. So you gotta understand. Balaam, and it said the Balaam son of Beor answered the king, and this is in chapter. There's another few chapters up. Because you gotta understand, at that time he was doing conjuring up shit to help people out. So now he fled to fucking Egypt. Now he's one of the one of the people for the Pharaoh. And so at this time, you gotta understand what's going on. Pharaoh had a dream, and it was some, the dream that the shit was gonna pop off. And Balaam said, and he answered the king, because Balaam, he asked for his interpreters like the Pharaoh always do. This dream means nothing but a great evil that will spring up against Egypt in the latter days. So it's basically, if you want to know about the dream, the first dream Pharaoh had before anything, you know what I'm saying, you'll go to chapter, and you'll know the timeline we in. So knowing that dream, he gave him a premonition of that dream. So now we talking about, this is the time, chapter 70, when Moses is being born, like in the Bible, when Moses is being born. So I'm going to go to where Moses is being born in the Bible so we can get it. Oh, let me get it real good. All right, here we go. And this is Exodus, chapter 1, I believe, chapter 1. 16, and he said to the officer of the midwives of the Hebrews, if you should see, if it's a son, then kill him. If it's a daughter, then it shall live. Now, this is the time where they was giving the fucking thing to kill the babies. So you got to understand, this is Moses. So it go down to tell you that, the daughters of Levi and Miriam put him in the joint, you know what I'm saying? And Moses, and the child grew up. Now, I want you to see this, because they don't tell you shit about Moses' life. Just like they don't tell you shit about Abraham's life. They don't tell you shit. They just tell you Moses grew up. You see it? and the child grew up and saw into Pharaoh's daughter, you know what I'm saying, and became her son. And the child's name was Moses. And he drew out the water because he was Moses, all right? So it's going to go down and tell you, and the prince, he jumped all the way to when he got married, you know what I'm saying, to the daughters. But we all know that he killed the Egyptian who make the prince over us, you know what I'm saying, because they found out. So I'm just going to read the joint like how it is. And he looked the which way and saw that there was no man. He slew an Egyptian. You know what I'm saying? In the sand. And on the second day, two men were arguing, and then Moses tried to break up the fight. And then it was like, who is you to judge over this? Was you going to kill us like the Egyptians? So then Moses knew the shit was known. And, you know what I'm saying? Surely the thing was known, and Pharaoh sought to kill him. So you got to understand, that's all it said about Moses' life before, he go, and then magically 2 verses later, marry. So it's like, you got to understand. This is the time when Moses was born. In the 3rd year, you know what I'm saying, because they hid him for 3 years, it's like it say. You know what I'm saying? I think it does say that they hid him for 3 years when Moses was born. It's somewhere in this joint. It's like I got so much to tell you. And they hid him for 3 months, actually for 3 months. 3 months, that's what I meant to say. But this just says, in the 3rd year of the birth of Moses, Pharaoh was sitting a banquet, right? I mean, this is after they accepted him, you know what I'm saying, as the baby, because they don't tell you about that. They just say he grew up. They accepted him as baby. And Moses stretched forth his hand and took the crown off the king's head, basically. And Balaam, because he the right-hand man to these motherfuckers, like he said, he's one of the, the people, the side piece, the side niggas, the princes, like one of the two stairs. I forgot what you call these niggas. You can call them anything, because you know what I mean. But he said to the king, surely this thing is not, plus he told him who he was and shit like that. He just automatically, this is Hebrew. That's what Balaam was on. This is Moses at 3. Balaam is right there already telling him. The youngster did this thing without knowing, like he did this thing. He said, and let not the Lord King imagine. I didn't want to say that shit because he's not the Lord King, fucking Pharaoh. Imagine this younger did this thing without knowledge, for he is a Hebrew boy, and wisdom and understanding are with him, although he is yet a child. And with wisdom he has done this thing and chosen to himself to be king of Egypt, or the kingdom of Egypt. So basically when Moses took that off, so Balaam tried to hype it up and like, this nigga took this shit off, because like he said back in the day, you know what I'm saying, somebody's going to kill him. So he was like, take from my dream. And if it pleases the king, let us now spill Moses the blood, to kill this nigga. That's what he trying to get. He trying to get Moses killed. You understand? That's Balaam. And you know what I'm saying? He's the wise man. I mean, that's what I'm looking for, a wise man. But he's not wise, you know what I'm saying? So they've been trying. So they basically said, gather up all the wise men and the sons of Balaam, because he had like 2 sons. And the angel of the Lord seemed like one of the wise men of Pharaoh and answered them and said, this is what we should do. So basically, the angel of the Lord, who was looking like a wise man, said, we should put an onyx stone and some fire, a coal fire in front of Moses as a child. And if he stretched forth his hand to the onyx stone, that means the thing is real. And if he put his hand to the burning coal, then it's not. So basically, Moses stretched forth his hand, and he was going to take the fucking onyx stone, but the angel of the Lord put his hand on the fucking fire joint. And then Moses burnt his face and half of his tongue. That's why he was like, they say he was like, he couldn't talk that much. So you can understand, it says he burned a part of his lip and a part of his tongue, and he became heavy in mouth and tongue. So now you can understand what happened to Moses, because Balaam was trying to get him killed. And the king and the princes saw this thing, and they knew Moses had not acted with wisdom and taken off the crown, off the king's head. So they forgot about that shit. So now Moses grew up, you know what I'm saying? It's telling you about that shit. It says, and they told him before all the shit that befallen him in that junction with the Pharaoh at his birth. And then they told him the counsel of Balaam that he gave him. This is when Moses grown up. So you understand, Moses the shit now, and everybody fuck with Moses. You know what I'm saying? He daily went forth back to Goshen, where his people was, and where the Israelites was, because in Goshen everybody was there until they took the fucking Israelites, because the people of the Levites was in Goshen. They didn't work because they never served. You gotta understand. You gotta read this book so you can understand. And Balaam was afraid of Moses because, listen, it says, and when Moses heard the thing, he was kindled. His anger was kindled against Balaam. He sought to kill him, and he was trying to ambush this man day after day. And Balaam was afraid. And he took him and his 2 sons and left Egypt and went to the land of Cush and went to this fucking Titus, whatever fucking nigga's name is, the king of Cush. So that's what I want to tell you. He's been an adversary to Israel for a brick. And this is Balaam. Now you know a little bit more about Balaam. That's chapter, 70, 30, 69, 68. So you can understand who the fuck Balaam is. But I want you to also see this, because a lot of people don't know this. So after Moses, I want you to hear what happened that fucking Egyptian did. And because it just say Moses smited a man and hit him in the fucking dirt. And that's all it said. So I want you to see what the fuck happened when with the shit. And it said Moses, who was and when a man who was beaten saw Moses, he ran for help to him. Now this is what happened. So you'll get it, because they took this out of King James. It says, for the man, and Moses was greatly, respected with everybody. So he says, my Lord, attend to me. This Egyptian came to my house at night, bound me, and came into my wife in my presence. And now he's seeking to take my life. That's the reason why Moses killed that motherfucker. You don't understand? Moses killed that nigga off that shit. I would kill that nigga off that shit. And I look both ways and the other way and murder that nigga for doing that shit to my people. That's some fucked up shit. You would never knew why he killed that shit. And you gotta understand. So you gotta understand how it works. Is as when a man had returned to his home and sought for his wife, you know what I'm saying? It's against the law for us to go back into women like if that shit happened. It says, because it's against the house of Jacob to do that shit. So the women brothers try to kill her husband for not going back into her. Once somebody defile your wife or in that way, or she defile herself, then you can't go back into her. There's no accepting her back, you know what I'm saying, against the Israel law. You know what I'm saying? There's no way. So people need to know that as well. But now Moses killed that shit and the thing was known. So Moses was afraid of, and surely said this shit is known. And so Moses, you won't know this. I don't feel like going to the story of how Moses got out the city. But you gotta go read it for yourself, because you didn't know that even how Moses got out of the city. But I want to show you what happened to where Moses went. And like I said, the son of Balaam, Balaam, the son of Beor, was in Cush. And so basically this man, Canidas, the king of Cush, remember he went there before the king of Cush, he went to go fight the children of the east. So when he went to go fight, the son of Balaam, who was put in charge to take care of the poor, rose up and advised all the people to rebel against the king. That's what Balaam do. So as soon as the king left for Cush, he told all the people to rise against the king of Cush, not to let him back in the city, that he should come home. And the people hearkened to him. And you can understand what they did to this city. They raised the city up super high. And all around the city, they made it so you could not enter. So they dig ditches. They dig ditches and cover the shit up with water. So it could be like a huge new river and windmill. So it could be constant current so you couldn't ride the boat or craft. around, ditches between without number, between the city and the river surrounding the whole land, and it made the waters burst out therefore. So it's basically what I'm saying is right in front of my face, so I can basically just read it. And at the other corners there was incantations, enchantments and shit. And they had serpents come out. So this, I want you to see this is the key shit. The serpents was on the other side. So they couldn't get on one side because of the water. They couldn't get on the other side because the shit was so high. And they couldn't get on the other side because it was fucking so countless snakes that was killing niggas. So how did they get there? So when they came back to this motherfucking city, the king of Cush, and they seen the shit was there. And it was astonished. Like the people, they thought the people was afraid. So they came up to the gate and they was like, let us back in, the king. You know what I'm saying? They was like, no. And they wound up killing them. And King Angas, I mean, not Angas, but that King Kitchen, the king of Cush, was besieging the city for like 9 years. And so when Moses fled, he was 18 years when he fled from Egypt. This is the same time. So where did he go? He went to the camp of the Kittites, the king of Cush. And Moses was 9 years in the camp when they was besieging the fucking camp. Because they wouldn't let him back inside Cush. So you got to understand, you didn't even know all this shit. So I want you to see this shit. And the king died because he was on that bitch for a brick. And it said, now after the death of the king of Cush and the men with grievance, they made Moses the king of Cush. It said all the people knows the sword to him and try to give him a wife, the queen of Cushite. Can't fuck no Cushite. Can't be with no other people but our own people. But people don't understand. The wife of Cush, they made Moses the king. And all the people of Cush to that day proclaimed him the king. He was the king of Cush for 40 years. Moses was 27 years old when he began to reign over Cush. And 40 years did he reign. All our people reigned 40 years. You understand? But he never fucked with that Cushite. So you can understand. I mean, you can understand. It said he never come into her. So I really want you to read that part so you'll know that he never came into the Cushite. This was his first wife, though. Moses had a wife before, the wives and the 4 daughters. So you'll know that. Also, I want you to see about the 4 daughters, because after that shit, Moses wound up getting them back in the city. Moses told these niggas, every man, to go get a young stalk. It says, and the people did so, and they climbed up the wood and fit the tree, and each man got him a young stalk. And in the desert. And Moses told them to starve the stalk and teach them how to dart their head to attack and young stalk. And after they got these young stalks reared up, they all went there. On the 3rd day, they released some stalks, and the stalks ate up the stalks, the shit that the people tell you bring babies and shit. In the cartoons that bring the babies in the air and in their mouth and shit on the napkin or some shit. He got them motherfuckers to eat every last fucking snake that them niggas had there. And they went there and murdered them niggas. And then Balaam escaped again from Moses. This you don't get. So now you know that Moses was the fucking king of Cush for fucking 40 years. You never knew that shit. And also Moses, when he did this nigga father, these people father the two the daughters of the Midianite priest in King James that they mentioned. This nigga threw Moses in a motherfucking cellar in a dungeon for like 10 years fucking with that nigga. You don't get it. Because Moses left there and then went there. And then they seen the clothes of this nigga talking about he must have had war with Moab. So the father threw him in the joint. I'm trying to get to it. And with all this knowledge, how could you tell me about Moses? Especially when you look at the movie 10 Commandments that come on every year. These people dressed in Edomite. They all Edomites playing you. You don't even know the difference from the Hamites. Because the craziest thing is, the Egyptians is dark-skinned Hamites. The Israelites is dark-skinned. And so when you look at Charleston Heston, I don't even know if they think they still show that shit. I need to remake that fucking movie, man. I need to remake this. This should be a movie. When Judah and his brothers and their servants went and fought the fucking kings of Canaan. That should be a motherfucking movie. Them motherfuckers was battling. Said, I see Levi and Simeon ain't together. It must be around it. There it is. Levi and Simeon answered that Shechem. Oh yeah, they about to go murder everybody in Shechem. Proper advice. Send me his advice, please. You know, to resolve the issue. So they all got circumcised. We in that joint and murdered them. And it's all in here, man. This should be a movie from chapter, like, oh my goodness. Everything should be a movie. Played by the correct people. Yeah, they circumcised and went in that joint and murdered them. Daughters of the brother of the king, they wish we take for ourselves the daughters of the Hebrews before they do it, man. You guys just go read this shit yourself, man. Book of Jasher.